It's Rady, the fat cat who's great with rates. Meow.
Hey guys, welcome to the Kearney Math Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Today is entry number 4. So go ahead and write entry number 4 at the top of your mini lesson. Okay, today's EOG bowling review is going to be focusing on unit rate and ratios and rates, but specifically unit rate. So let's just quickly remember how to write a ratio. A ratio can be written 3 ways. One way is you can write A to B. We're comparing 2 things. We can write A colon B, which can also still be read A to B. And the third way is in fraction form, A over B. Now, fraction form is probably the way that most people are going to see ratios written, okay? So a rate is very similar to a ratio. A rate is actually a ratio. What makes a rate instead of a ratio is it's a ratio that actually compares two quantities. So a rate compares two quantities using division. So for example, if I wanted to say that it's $6 for 3 pounds of turkey, that would be a rate. $6 per 3 pounds of turkey. Okay, so a ratio compares 2 things. A rate compares 2 different quantities using division. Now let's take a rate a little bit further because there are lots of rates. That $6 per 3 pounds of turkey is a rate because it's comparing 2 things. But a unit rate is a rate that actually talks about comparing things and figuring out how much per one item. So the keyword unit meaning one. Okay, so how much per one item? And you need a 1 in the denominator. So for example, we said it was $6 for 3 pounds of turkey. To find the unit rate of that, we'd want to know how much per 1 pound of turkey. So $6 for 3 would mean that it was $2 per 1 pound of turkey. Okay? So ratio, comparing 2 things. Rate, comparing 2 things, 2 different quantities. And a unit rate is how much per one. Okay? So I'm going to go over probably 2 practice problems with you guys, and then I'm going to let you work on some on your own. Okay? So let's start with the first one together. Let's talk about this one here. Okay, so it says, suppose that a butterfly can fly 82 feet in 4 seconds. A dragonfly can fly 50 feet in 2 seconds. Which can fly faster and by how much? Okay, so for me, when I am marking the text in math, what I do is I always box in the question and then I write, what do I want to know? So I'm going to box in my question, which is which can fly faster and by how much? So my want to know is which is faster and how much faster. Okay, so I'm not going to stop until I have that question answered. So I'm comparing a butterfly to a dragonfly. And I know that the butterfly can fly 82 feet in 4 seconds, or I know that the dragonfly can fly 50 feet in 2 seconds, okay? But I really can't compare because I know the butterfly is going further, but it's taking longer, 44 seconds. And the dragonfly is only going 50 feet, but it's going that far in 2 seconds. So I want to know which one is going faster or farther in a smaller amount of time. So to really accurately compare two things, you always want to find the unit rate. So figure out how fast are these flying per 1 second, okay? So if I divide the butterfly, how fast per 1 second, if I divide 82 divided by 4, I would get 20.5 feet per second. The dragonfly, if I want to know how fast it's going per second, if I divide 50 divided by 2, the dragonfly is going 25 feet per second. So in 1 second, who's able to cover more ground? Who's able to go further? The dragonfly. Okay? And then, so my question was, which is faster? So we know it's the dragonfly. So I can go ahead and mark out D, C, and D. And it says how much faster is the dragonfly. So the dragonfly is going 25. The butterfly is going 20.5. So I can find the difference in those. And that would be 4.5 feet per second faster. So my answer would be A. Okay, so if you're ever asked to compare two different scenarios and you want to know what's the better buy or what's faster, you always want to find the unit rate and compare how much per one. Okay, I'm going to do one more with you guys. So the next one I want you to come down is I want you to find this one. Okay, this one is super mega important because you are guaranteed to see several questions just like this one on the calculator inactive. You just go ahead and get ready. You're going to definitely see a question like this. So let's talk about it. So it says, Betty makes pies. To make 6 pies, she uses 7.5 cups of flour. How many cups of flour are needed to make 1 pie? So I'm going to mark my text. So I'm going to box in what my question is. And I'm going to write my want to know. So my ultimate want to know is I want to know how many cups of flour for 1 pie. So I know that to make 6 pies, I can use 7.5 cups of flour. I want to know how much just for 1 pie. So for any question that you're comparing two different quantities like this, cups of flour to pie, your feet to per second, miles per hour, you want to set up a proportion, okay? And make sure you write down your units. So we know that 7.5 cups of flour to make 6 pies, but we want to know how much per 1 pie. So where would you put your 1 pie? You want to make sure your units line up. So you're going to put your 1 pie on the bottom, okay? Now remember we said in our big ideas that you always want to change mixed numbers to improper fractions. So the 7.5 cups would change to, so we do 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15 over 2. Okay? Now, how do you solve a proportion? How would I solve for x? You're going to cross multiply and divide. So cross multiply the two numbers that are diagonal. So 15 over 2 times 1. So 15 over 2 times 1 is 15 over 2. Write that down first. Always write down your answer for your multiplication first. And then we're going to cross multiply and then divide by what's across. So we're going to divide by 6. Now, how can I write 6 such that it's a fraction? What can you always divide a number by that won't change it? I can put a 1 under it. And then to divide fractions, think back to your big ideas. How do we say to divide fractions? Keep, change, flip. We're going to keep the first one, change to multiplication, and flip your 6 over 1 to 1/6. And then we can just multiply straight across. So 15 times 1 is 15. 2 times 6 is 12. So 15 12 cups of flour. And then go back to your want to know. Did we answer it? The question was how many cups of flour? And is our answer reasonable? So let's convert 15 over 12 to a mixed number just to see if it's reasonable. 12 goes into 15 one time, and you're left with 3 12, so that would be 1 1/4 cups of flour. Does that make sense to have 1 1/4 cups of flour per pie? Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Okay. So until Miss Kearney calls you over to work, what I want to see that you're doing is I want you to go through and for all of these problems, box in your question, write your want to know. And then when you're setting up a proportion and pretty much all the questions on here, you're needing to set up proportions and you're going to be needing to divide, not all of them, but most of them. When I walk around, I want to see that you have the proportion set up. You have your units written in, they're lined up, and you're cross multiplying and dividing. Okay. All right. Good luck, guys. Make me proud. Peace out, Rainbow Trout. Love you, mean it.